Ruhl, aka MegaBlitzz. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the upcoming cards that have actually just gotten revealed from the Crimson Haze set over in Japan. This will make up our set in like May, I believe, is when we'll end up getting some of these cards. So let's get right into it. Alrighty guys, and here we are with those Crimson Haze cards that have been revealed. Starting us off here with Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. Now, I'm not too sure why it says fighting type here. Definitely a normal type. I think the card itself looks super cool. I think this Blood Moon Ursaluna looks absolutely sick. This art's really cute. I love how they're all like just trying to get into honey. You got the Teddy Ursas and the Rabombis and this little Munchlax like, hey man, I want some of the honey too. So I like this art a lot. I think it's really cute. But as far as the Pokemon itself goes, basic 260 hit points, pretty big for a just basic EX as far as hit points go. We got an ability, Elder's Technique. This Pokemon's Blood Moon attack costs one less colorless to use for each prize card your opponent has taken. So if your opponent has literally one prize card left, this Blood Moon Ursaluna can attack for free entirely. I could see this maybe getting thrown into like a deck with like Gardenia's Vigor or something, where you're able to just like power energies onto it that way. You could, I guess, technically put this in like Chien-Pao, but Chien-Pao's never gonna play this card because you would just put the energies on Chien-Pao to do more damage that way. So not really a reason to put it in there. Maybe there's like some like weird grass type deck that comes out where they could slot maybe one of these in there. But super cool card. I'm really glad to see like the ability being used for different things besides just Radiant Charizard. So pretty cool. Weak to fighting, not super relevant. I guess like some of the ancient box decks and stuff have fighting type Pokemon in them. There's like a mill deck that's coming around soon, but they're not really attacking, they're just trying to mill you. Retreat cost of 3 is a little hefty. And we got the Screamtail EX. Now, when I first read this card, I was like, oh, this card's so good. But then I actually like really started to think about it. I was like, oh, not so much. So Screamtail EX, Psychic type, HP 190, so it's pretty frail. It's got an ancient type as well, so it's basically one with the ancient ability or ancient subtype. I don't really know what it is, but with this attack, Sudden Streak for one colorless, you can use this attack only if you go second and only during your first turn. So kind of like Battle VIP Pass, where you can only use it on your first turn. Even when you go second, you can still use it. So you got to be going second to use this because you need to be able to attack, and it needs to be your first turn as well. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any supporter cards. So if you're going second, your opponent can't use any supporter cards on their first turn. And then you play this, and you are able to attack with it, they won't be able to play support cards on the second turn either. So that's kind of good. I could see maybe this being like a control deck of some sorts. Maybe in like an ancient box type deck. Gardevoir could play this card technically because you'd be able to Psychic Embrace onto it. And it does have a second attack as well, being Crunch for 120 damage for one Psychic double colorless. Discard energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, I don't think this attack's bad at all, especially because it allows you to just like keep discarding energies off of your opponent's active Pokemon. The problem with this is it's a two-prizer on something that's so frail and just has very limited range to it. Because let's say, you know, you're one of your big win conditions or big way to help you win the game very early on is that Sudden Streak, and that thing's prized and you can't get it out or anything. It's kind of unfortunate, and like if you end up drawing into it, you can like jet energy up into it and then still Sudden Shriek, which is still pretty good. But being able to slow down supporters is nice. That's why I think it might get played in like a control type deck. I could see Stall maybe playing like one copy of this possibly. Gardevoir might try to fit this in somewhere. Ancient box decks might try to put it in there. We'll have to see. But being weak to Dark's also pretty tough because you're weak to like Charizard, you're weak to Roaring Moon, which is kind of tough. Like Galarian Moltres V and stuff rotates, so you're not really have to worry about that as much, but still being weak to like one of the bigger powerhouse decks in the format is quite unfortunate. Resist fighting, as I said, fighting is not super relevant, especially after Rapid Box rotates, so not too big of a deal there. One retreat cost, so pretty cheap for that as well. Got Iron Thorns EX here with this ability. Let's Pokemon in the active spot. Pokemon with Rule Box in play, except future Pokemon, don't have any abilities. So kind of like Klefki. Klefki shuts down only basic Pokemon's abilities in play. And then, so it's kind of just, this Pokemon does something very similar to what Path of the Peak can kind of do. Future Pokemon can get around it. The problem with this Pokemon is its attack is really, really bad, I think. One Lightning, double colorless, Bolt Cyclone for 140 damage, so you're not hitting anything for like big damage. Move one energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. You could maybe put this into like Miraidon, but with it being a hefty retreat cost of 4, It's kind of unfortunate. You got to commit and play like switches, switch cards. You can't play Escape Rope because that rotates, but you could also put this in like a future box deck where it plays the future energy capsule because it makes retreat cost free of future Pokemon. So you could put that in there. I'm actually curious to see what the ruling would be if this Iron Thorns EX and Klefki were in the active spot at the same time, because it's a basic Pokemon, so Klefki shuts out the ability of Iron Thorns EX, but then Iron Thorns EX shuts off the ability of all Pokemon that aren't future Pokemon. So interesting to see how that works out. One of the other cool things about this, though, is going against decks like Charizard with Pidgeot, or like Arceus decks that want a Starbirth, or Lugia, or things of that nature, can be really cool because actually you're shutting off their abilities. So Summoning Star, Starbirth, Infernal Rain, Quick Searches, all those things. And honestly, even Lost Box decks as well. You know, you can't Flower Selecting anymore. You won't be able to do things of that nature. You know, Radiant Greninja won't be able to conceal cards or stuff like that. I think it's really cool. So you have to commit like a Prime Catcher or like a Boss's Orders to push this out of the active spot and then use all your abilities. So I could see this maybe seeing some play in like future decks. I could see it maybe seeing play in Miraidon. Miraidon probably the most likely. Control decks could probably play this if they really wanted to, I guess, as well. So we'll see. We got this Applin here. Find a friend, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it in your hand. Nothing too crazy. You know, Rolling Tackle 30 damage for Grass and Fire. Nothing wild there. We got Diplin here. Now, I actually didn't realize that. I knew about the Blood Moon Ursaluna being a thing. Like, I had seen it in, like, a VGC thing somewhere. But I didn't realize that Diplin, like, evolved from Applin. Like, I didn't know Diplin even existed, actually. So, pretty cool. It's basically just, like, a candy-dipped apple, which is really cool. Actually, one of my favorite, like, treats growing up as a kid was a caramel apple. So, very cool. Evolves from Applin, 80 HP, you know, Grass and Fire. Switching one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. This attack does 70 more damage to the new Pokemon. Nothing too crazy to write home about. Being, you know, you have to evolve into it. You're only doing 70 damage. Sure, you can, like, push things out of the active spot and, like, put up different things that you want to trap up in the active. But I feel like trying to do 70 damage to the active Pokemon isn't great. I think it would be maybe a little cooler if you could do 70 to any Pokemon. I think that this card might see play. But I don't think this Applin and this Diplin see play at all, unfortunately. Super cute cards, though. But they got, you know, retreat cost of 1, retreat cost of 2, respectively. Weakness and resistance doesn't exist because they're Dragon-type Pokemon. And then we got Fion here. Basic water Pokemon, HP 70. It's got an attack Beckon for 1 colorless. Put a supporter card from your discard pile back into your hand. It's got a second attack here. Energy press for 1 water energy 20 times. This attack does 20 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this card could see play, trying to just punish decks that are attaching a lot of energy to a lot of Pokemon. So things like Gardevoir would be doing that. Lugia could probably get punished a little bit by this as well. But most decks, I guess maybe even like... Nah, Chempalkas are going to be discarding them off of it, so that wouldn't work either, actually. Yeah, Fion might just not see play. The only thing it might see play for here is the Beckon attack. Put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. I feel like this would see play if it was a free attack. Kind of like how Clef will let you draw cards and things of that nature. But the fact that you have to commit an energy to it and then put a supporter card into your hand from your discard pile and then your turn ends because you used an attack feels kind of bad. But I will say this art is absolutely beautiful. For those that don't know, I'm actually a huge fan of like any art cards that have like underwater theme to them. So like this Fion, you know, the Lumineon V's, the Starmie where like Misty's laying there. I just really like water Pokemon. I really like the water aesthetic in Pokemon. I think it's really cool. So very nicely done. Even this art I think is just very cute. Just hanging out, chilling. I'm a big fan of like water themed art Pokemon. So pretty cool. I don't think this sees play. It might see play in like a control deck or something, putting a supporter back in your hand, but you're throwing up a 1 prize so they're going to be able to KO very easily, and your turn ends from that Beckon. Even in like, if it was a free attack, maybe this could see play, but having a colorless, I doubt it. Weak to Lightning also, retreat cost of 1. And then we got Perrin here. Reveal up to 2 Pokemon from your hand, then shuffle them into your deck. Then your search deck for that many Pokemon, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck again. So, or you should you put 2 Pokemon, shuffle them in your deck, then search your deck for up to that many Pokemon, so you can do up to 2, so 1 or 2. and then reveal him, put him in your hand. So I think this card will see play in things that want to be discarding Pokemon. So like Lugia would probably end up playing this. You know, reveal 2 Pokemon from your hand, go find 2 Archeops, Ultra Ball them away, discard them, go find Lugia V-Star, evolve, and then Summoning Star and do it that way. So this is kind of like a longer version of Professor Brunette, I guess, and it has a little bit more requirement to it because we do lose Professor Brunette after rotation, but I still think this is a really cool card, and it could be even seen play in like things that evolve in rare candies. So maybe we could see this in like Chien-Pao, they're trying to find Excaliburs. We could see maybe 1 copy of this in like Charizard or Gardevoir decks. I don't think we see anything more than like 1 copy at best of this card, but still a really cool card, and I definitely like it. I like how we kind of get a new Professor Brunette in a weird way. Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. You play as many items as you want during your turn. So this card is really cool. Enhanced Hammer, being able to discard double turbo energies, V-Guard energies, jet energies, you know, therapeutics, mist energy when that comes out as well, I think can be really, reversal energy, I think can be really, really powerful in specific matchups. So Snorlax Doll 100% plays this card for sure, because now you put yourself in a position where Crushing Hammer can discard any energy, which is great, but if we have a lot of decks post-rotation where a lot of special energy is going to be in them, then you're playing Enhanced Hammer. So super cool. I'm super excited to be playing with Enhanced Hammer. I think this card will definitely see a lot of play in many different decks for sure. We got Community Center, and Community Center kind of ties into Caretaker. So I'm going to read them both at the same time and kind of explain my thoughts on both. So once during a turn, each player's turn. Once during each player's turn, if a player has already played a supporter from their hand, you may heal 10 damage from each of their Pokemon. And then supporter, being Caretaker, draw 2 cards. Then if Community Center is in play, you shuffle Caretaker back into the deck. I don't think these see play at all. Community Center, just 10 damage isn't quite enough. Having things like Radiant Serena being able to heal 20 damage, and then just 10 damage isn't enough I think to heal from anything. You know, Roaring Moon puts himself at 30, so you're not really saving anything there. And then Gardevoir decks as well, Psychic Embrace puts 20 damage counters on something, so 10 does nothing. If it's at 20, then like maybe this sees play, but I don't think so. And then Caretaker, obviously just draw 2 cards, and then if the Community Center's in play, you would shuffle Caretaker back into the deck. I mean, Hop literally just lets you draw 3 cards straight up, or the new equivalent of Hop. And then a lot of decks we've seen too play like Course's Experiment already to just look at the top 5, put 2 cards into like the Lost Zone they don't need or want anymore, and then just do that. We've seen decks that don't even use the Lost Zone engine play Chorus for that reason, or at least like 1 copy. So I think we'll just see people playing Chorus still over this Community Center Caretaker combo. But I like the aesthetic. I think it's cool. Got Lucky Helmet here. If Pokemon this card's attached to and he's in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from an opponent's Pokemon, even if it's knocked out, you draw 2 cards. You can attach as many tools as you want, as often as you want. I don't think this card will see play. It might see play in like I don't know, Revavroom EX deck or something, but I don't think we'll see anything other than that be played with it. You're not really gonna put this in like Charizard. You can put it in a deck that has big bulky Pokemon like Charizard, but at that point, you would probably just attach like Vitality Band or Choice Belt or any other tool to it, honestly. I still think it's a cool card. You wouldn't even play this in Stall, because like, you want to draw a lot of cards and have a lot of cards in your hand with Snorlax Stall. However, it's also one of those things where now you're committing Lucky Helmet over Bravery Charm or Luxurious Cape, which feels really bad. So I don't think this card's going to see play at all, unfortunately. I like the thought, and I think it is cool that you have an item that lets you draw cards or a tool that lets you draw cards if they take damage, but I just don't think it's good enough to see play in anything. Like I said, maybe a Revavroom EX deck or something, some weird rogue deck, but other than that, probably not. We got Unfair Stamp here. Now, I'm actually really excited for this card because I had played when Reset Stamp was in the format, and now Reset Stamp was literally just like Iono. You know, each player shuffles their hand into their... Well, it's a little bit... I guess it's a combination, actually, now I think about it. Reset Stamp was each player shuffles their hand into their deck, and then you draw cards equal to the amount of prize cards you had, and that was on an item. So you could do that multiple times in a turn, which is absolutely insane. Iono, obviously, being stuck on a support, you put him at the bottom, but still really cool. Unfair Stamp, though, can only play one A-Spec in your deck, so they'll be playing one Unfair Stamp. You can play this card only if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. So kind of like Raihan, they need to be able to KO one of your things, then you can play Unfair Stamp. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, then you draw 5 cards, your opponent draws 2 cards. I don't think this sees a lot of play in most decks, just because Prime Catcher seems a little bit better, Maximum Belt seems really good, Master Ball seems to be played in a couple decks as well right now. And then we got a couple other A-Specs out there that just are a little bit more valuable in certain archetypes. However, Unfair Stamp could see play in, you know, maybe a couple control decks. You could see play maybe in, like, I almost want to say Gardevoir might be able to get away with this. I think a couple decks will definitely try to fit this in the deck if they can't find a spec that fits. You know, Prime Catcher can obviously fit in almost any deck. I feel like Unfair Stamp is very similar, where it can fit into any deck. But I'm definitely excited to play with Unfair Stamp, just being a person who plays with Reset Stamp a lot. So, really cool here. And then down here, we got Crimson Haze will release in Japan on March 22nd. That set, Crimson Haze, and its April Mask of Change set will form our Twilight Masquerade set in May. So we're going to have 2 sets kind of combined for our set in May. So Japan will get 2 things, and then we'll get 1 come May. We don't know when it'll be. It could be later in May. It could be earlier. We're not too sure. But still really cool, though. So we'll have to see. Very cool cards. I'm excited for a lot of these. Beautiful art, stuff like that. So, I don't know. Super cool stuff. Let's jump right in to that outro. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it here for those Crimson Haze cards. Super excited to see a lot of these cards make their way to the States here soon. Really excited for rotation coming up. Starting to work on some new decks. I'm starting to proxy up some stuff that we've been seeing in Japan with the most recent Champions League and stuff going on. And just, actually, I think it just finished. So, really excited for that. Super pumped to get into these here in the near future. If you've been enjoying the content I'm making for the channel, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!